Hi, I'm David.
Hi, I'm Jelena.
Welcome to our YouTube tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at two postures from Ashtanga's closing sequence. Halasana, which is...
I have no idea.
Really? Plough pose.
Oh, plow pose, that's right.
And Karnapidasana.
It's ear pressure pose.
Yeah, Karna ear pita pressure pose. All right, so these are in, like I said, the closing sequence. And we're going to get to them. We'll look at them in detail. We'll look at the vinyasa, which is very easy. But before we do that...
Make sure that you follow, subscribe, and maybe comment on these videos, letting us know what we can do, providing constructive feedback, stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Plough pose is it's quite a common posture in Hatha Yoga. It shows up a lot. Like I said, for Ashtangis, it shows up in the closing sequence. It's considered restorative. So our whole closing sequence is kind of about inverting, holding a bit longer, starting to slow your heartbeat down, getting ready for rest. So we do Halasana and Karnapidasana. Both have the hips over the head. Whenever we're doing Ashtanga, you're going to have cues that are specific to Ashtanga. So we'll go over those. It's a little different than maybe other types of plough pose that I've done in other classes a long, long time ago.
But these are difficult asanas. Just because they're restorative doesn't imply that they're simple. And in fact, in Ashtanga, we don't introduce these to someone's practice until they've made it to the halfway point in primary series, meaning that the body's kind of mobile enough and strong enough, really, to be able to support someone, because as David's mentioning, we're going onto the shoulders and neck area, and so we have to be really careful with that.
Mm-hmm. They're great poses, though. Once you learn them and once you can do them, you can keep doing them for the rest of your life. Our teacher said even when you give up all the other asana, this closing sequence is very good, very important. So let's get started. So I mentioned we'll do the vinyasa. Vinyasa is actually very simple in terms of counting. So we come into Halasana from shoulder stand, Salamba Sarvangasana, and we have a tutorial on that, and we'll link to it here, but it's also the one before this in the playlist. And we take our 10 breaths in Salamba Sarvangasana, and then on the exhale, so the 10th exhale, the vinyasa count is Ashtau, the 8th vinyasa. We bring the legs down, keeping them straight, and interlock the fingers and bring the arms towards the floor. So Jelena is on the tops of the shoulders, the legs are straight, and the feet are plantiflex. They're pointed, and she's pressing the tops of the toes into the floor, so the legs are very energized. And she's trying to bring her hands and ideally to her elbows to the floor. When you're doing this posture, even though you're on your shoulders and your head, like we mentioned in the Salamba Sarvangasana tutorial as well, it's not a good idea to rest the weight on the back of the head, or on the back of the neck, I should say. So see, I don't know if you could see it there. Jelena kind of collapsed onto her neck there. She rounded her back. What we're trying to do instead is come as high as we can up onto the shoulders by pushing the upper arms and the elbows down into the floor and pressing through the tops of the feet to lift the thighs up towards the ceiling. And the hips, see, you can see Jelena do that again. See that lift? And see what happens to her back. So she's using the strength of the legs and the shoulders as well as the core to lift the hips up. And that brings her higher onto the tops of the shoulders, step one. Step two, she's also lightly extending the neck by pressing down lightly through the back of the head to help contribute to the arch, the extension in the cervical spine to keep the neck off the floor. Just do your best on that. And so after we take 8 breaths here, we go Ashtanga on the 8th exhale, bend the knees, bring the knees towards the ears for Karnapidasana. So that's the ear part. The knees come down towards the ears. The pressure part is now that the knees start to squeeze in towards the side of the head. Now we can let the back round more. We're trying to bring the shins down towards the floor. The tailbone rolls down towards the head. Eventually, you should be sitting on your own face. Okay? Just joking. I've never seen that, but you can try. So we're going to still keep the arms in that same position, still pressing down through the elbows if we can, and feet are together. That's a big cue that is missed out a lot of the time. People let the heels come apart. Make sure your heels stay together so your legs are coming closer and closer together all the time. Good. All right. And then after we take our 8 breaths there, we'll move on to the next posture. And we also have a tutorial for that already, Urdhva Padmasana, and we can link to it as well here.
I can't really talk. It's an awkward place to be and talk.
Yeah.
The mic is like somewhere in my throat.
What did I miss?
Nothing. I think maybe you've noticed that I keep readjusting my arms. The hands are really important and you want to kind of use them as best you can. And sometimes the fingers start to slip or, your arms on the floor start to slip. So don't be afraid to readjust because your arms are also really important in protecting your shoulder and the neck. So do that as needed.
In terms of hands slipping, one of the tricks that we have is we don't just join the hands together. We angle them slightly so the fingers cross the fingers. They don't just slide in between. And then the tension that would contribute to you slipping actually holds the hands together. And I was mentioning it while Jelena was doing it too, but make sure when your arms are extended behind you that you're not going into an external rotation with the humerus. We're not trying to squeeze the scapula, the shoulder blades together. We're not trying to hyperextend the elbows. We want to maintain our inward rotation. And then it's almost like you're pushing down through the entire humerus, through the entire upper arm, elbows down towards the floor.
So you might feel like this part of your hand isn't really on the floor because of that, and that's okay, but you'll find that you're feeling a lot of strength and support coming from the upper part of your arm, and also your back stays somewhat wide. It doesn't feel like you're squeezing your shoulder blades. So look for that as well.
Okay, and then vinyasa-wise, we said they're both, in terms of vinyasa count, Ashtanga. There's a reason for that, but we don't have to talk about it now. And each posture is held for 8 breaths. So a little bit different counts in the closing sequence because they're restorative.
Oh, fun fact. So when I did the second one, the Karnapidasana, you probably saw that my knees came all the way down to the floor and that my shins were on the floor. That's because it's happening now, not in the middle of my practice. Sometimes after I've done the whole back bending sequence and then I go here, my back doesn't allow me to round as much. Or on some days I'm able to do it and other days I'm not. So just kind of watch that in your practice too. Notice that your ability to round the back will allow for the knees to come to the floor, especially if you're like us and have shorter legs. That plays a big role. Those of you that have long legs, usually,
yeah, if you have
that tends to be easier.
Long thighs, then relative
long
to your
femur,
torso,
yeah.
That's what determines the length, right? Then, yeah, the knees will touch pretty easily.
Yeah, but for the rest of us, it's a struggle.
I don't think my knees have ever touched the floor. All right.
Okay.
That it? Okay, you try it. Let us know what you think. Was that helpful? Please comment, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and like it. Okay.
See you soon.
Bye.